Personal injury lawyers are not greedy. Wait, what? Well, most of us are not greedy. I'm Joel, this is Mark. Welcome back to the Williams, Elleby, Howard, and Easter YouTube channel. That's what we're going to talk about today. We get kind of a bad rap in the community and amongst other lawyers that practice in different areas than us a lot of times, trying to accuse our profession or our genre of law practice as a bunch of greedy ambulance chasers and things like that. And to be fair, just like in any profession, there are some lawyers that tend to be greedy and act in their own self-interest. But by and large, at least in my experience, most personal injury lawyers are anything but greedy. And I just want to go through some examples, or we want to go through some examples with you today about things that the public doesn't generally see, that doesn't make the news cycle, and ways that we try to make our profession and our communities a better place to be. So, Mark, you want to hit one topic off the...
Well, sure, and I'll also just start by saying I used to be a defense lawyer for about 10 years where I was representing the other side in cases. And like me, a lot of the plaintiffs' lawyers I know who switched sides did it not because they had some greedy motive, but because they really care about people and they didn't want to spend their lives representing corporations or insurance companies, instead wanted to represent people who needed a helping hand. But I think one area that we don't get a fair shake on in the public eye is how much time we may spend telling people they don't have a case. Mm-hmm. And that I get calls all the time where I'll tell somebody on the phone, hey, you know, I'm sorry what happened to you, but you don't really have a case. But in my mind, I feel that this may be the first time that person has ever had contact with a lawyer in their life. And I want to make sure I spend the time with them. I want to make sure I listen to what they have to say. And I want to make sure they leave feeling like they've been heard, even if I'm telling them I can't take your case.
Yeah, and unlike a lot of different areas of law where different lawyers practice, like that cost the potential client or the person who contacted you $0. That is time. If you were billing by the hour, you'd probably be billing, if you were working for the defense firm, you may be billing $500, $600, $700 an hour or more with your years of experience. And you spend that hour, that 2 hours, sometimes 15, 20 hours reviewing a case if you think there might be something there, and the client does not get a bill for it. So, you know, it's one of those things where they get solid legal advice and a solid opinion, but there's nothing charged for it. I think also as far as time goes, because in the legal community, really all we have is time. That's what we sell, is our knowledge, our expertise, our time that we can spend on a case. But community volunteer time. There are so many lawyers I know that do things like, a friend of mine, his name is Steve Littner, and his law partner, they do a family fun fest and they invite a lot of people to come and just do things. So many lawyers give back to their communities through charitable organizations, like we do Helping One Guy, or HOG, which goes out, and if somebody's gets cancer or has some tragic event happen in their life where there's not really a good avenue of recourse, the community just comes around them, loves on them, helps them, encourages them, those kind of things. But as far as, you know, in the Cobb Bar where we're at, for example, so many of the personal injury lawyers here donate their time to helping with the Children's Emergency Fund. So if a family comes into need, they can't pay the power bill, they're going to be short on rent that month, all of these things, financial resources and fundraisers and races and all of that kind of stuff to raise funds to help those children and their families in times of financial need. But you don't see that on the news cycle. You don't see that when you hear all the horror stories about the bad things that lawyers do. So, you know, I think that our profession in general needs a little more credit for that, or at least, even if we don't get credit for it, just an understanding that those things occur.
Yeah. And you know, most of the my friends who I hang out with in the plaintiff's bar, every one of them is attached to some sort of nonprofit or charitable organization that they spend their time and their money supporting.
Yep. Another thing I think is through education. One example is this YouTube channel itself. I mean, I can't tell you how many hours and just countless hours go into not just sitting here in front of a camera and talking to you guys, but the editing that goes into it, the thought process behind what we're going to talk about, trying to make sure that the information that we convey is useful and valuable to you in your personal lives. And we are making $0 by being here giving this information out today. So, or over the past 300, 350, however many videos we've done, we don't get paid for that. So we do it because we view it as a service that may be helpful to people. It may not be helpful to everybody, but at the same time, we don't try to be everything for everybody. We just try to help where we can. And hopefully some of this information that we are able to convey through this YouTube channel is helpful to people who have personal injury issues in their lives.
Exactly. And in fact, the fact that this YouTube video covers a lot of, goes nationwide and people from other states may look at it, you know, that those education efforts don't help us in our Georgia cases, but hopefully they're still helpful to people out there.
Yep. Another thing that we hear a lot is, oh, well, your lawyer's going to take, you know, a third or 40 or half or whatever of the case. Well, what they don't see is when cases don't necessarily go like we would like to see them go. If there's a challenge that causes the case to settle for less than what we initially thought it should, or the recovery is less than we thought it should, well, let's just go here. If it's lost, all that time is lost, or the lawyer's not paid as a personal injury lawyer, even though they may have spent hundreds or thousands of hours on a case.
And not only the hours, but the money out of pocket
to
support those cases. We don't go to a client after losing a case and say, hey, you owe us all the money we invested. We don't send them a bill for our time. That's on us.
Yep. And people also don't see on the back end, because a lot of settlements are confidential, when the lawyers reduce their fees to make sure that the client gets a fair net recovery overall. That happens a lot. But nobody sings our praises about that. I'm not saying they should.
Yep, and even after a case is over too, we may go to bat against an insurance company or against Medicare or Medicaid to reduce the amount of money that those folks are trying to take out of a recovery. We don't get paid for that either. That's just something we do on top of getting the recovery itself.
That's right. Circling back to education, I really do believe that personal injury lawyers are some of the most selfless individuals I have ever seen when it comes to trying to help younger lawyers and other people that are just getting into the industry succeed. There are a lot of areas of business where it's all cutthroat and all you're really trying to do is put your competitors out of business. I see that for the most part not happening in the personal injury realm. Like, we really are cheerleaders for each other. We want to see other lawyers succeed and do well, because when they succeed and do well, the clients or the people that were hurt actually have somebody to stand up for them against, you know, sometimes it may be a big insurance company, sometimes it may be a big trucking company, maybe the government, you know, who knows, maybe a big hospital, whatever. But education and just giving that time and that knowledge and passing it down so that there are people and there are lawyers who are capable of championing a person and helping them stand up against somebody.
Yeah, that was one of my favorite things about switching sides from doing defense work to plaintiff's work was when I was a defense lawyer, I could never have imagined asking other defense lawyers to send me their work product, a brief they wrote or a lawsuit or something like that, because they would have said, are you kidding me? You know how much time and money I charge for this work? But when I switched sides to being a personal injury lawyer, my fellow competitors who are out there trying to get the same kind of cases I'm getting were more than happy to send me work product, and I've learned through that to make sure I do the same for them.
Yep. Another thing that people don't see, any personal injury lawyer that's watching this video knows this all too well, but this is not a job that you leave at the office. It's a job that you live. It's a job where you're helping someone try to solve a problem that has altered their life, and it's just human nature. Like, it's almost impossible to leave that at the office.
So much of the time, the worst thing that's ever happened to a client is the reason they've come to us in the first place. And someone's life might be turned upside down. They may have not be able to work because of it. They may have lost someone they love who was a wage earner. And they've come to us to help them solve their problems, but also to be a friend who can help them in their time of need. And the human element is something that I find really wonderful about people who practice personal injury law.
Yep. Another thing is I don't really see many personal injury attorneys trying to step out of their lane and practice in other areas of the law. Like, you're not going to find many strictly personal injury firms that advertise that they do criminal law or divorce law or estate planning or anything like that. However, you will see lawyers that practice in other areas advertise that they do personal injury law. Well, okay, maybe they do. Maybe they're a general practitioner and they kind of handle a lot of everything, but I'm here to tell you right now, I can't count the number of times that people have called us where their buddy from college is a criminal defense lawyer and he's tried to handle this personal injury case, and something along the line, the demand wasn't sent correctly, the insurance company doesn't want to pay, the case settled, now the insurance company, the health insurance companies or Medicaid or Medicare, whoever, is beating down their door trying to get their money back, and the money's already gone, where things have been messed up. And that was really the inspiration for this video, is I saw a criminal defense lawyer make a post on social media where he basically said personal injury lawyers are super greedy, and he claimed that the reality is that most of our cases can be settled by just sending a letter out and demanding money. False, not true. There are cases that are easier to settle and resolve than others. However, most of our cases, especially larger cases where people are hurt really bad, take a significant amount of time and a significant amount of work. And I'm talking from day one, when we start the investigation, all the way up through trial if necessary and appeals if necessary. It really is a rare case where we can just send out a letter and get this a huge recovery.
Well, I wish that criminal defense lawyer had spent the last month with me when I was taking the depositions of 8 experts hired by the defense. That's pretty much all I did for a month. It wasn't just one letter. It was pretty much 24/7 for me for 6 or 7 weeks.
Yeah, that's right. And I think part of that criticism is probably self-inflicted by some lawyers who want to hold up the big checks and say, oh, look, here's where Progressive denied liability, and 3 months later, look, I just wrote a letter and I got this big check. There's a lot that goes into that formula. Those formulas aren't always the most ethical or most above board formulas, not always in the best interest of the client. So the lawyers that you see doing that kind of stuff probably don't fit into the mold of being the most honest, ethical lawyers in the world. They are the exceptions to the rule in the personal injury realm. But I think the long and short of it is, I just wanted to do this video to let you know that yes, there are some greedy personal injury lawyers, but the vast majority are not. They risk their money when there's no guarantee of return. They donate time to the community. They donate money to the community. The world is a better place because of non-greedy personal injury lawyers. And I'm going to get off my soapbox now, but I just wanted to let you know that there are people out there that work in the personal injury realm that are good, honest, hardworking people that will help carry your burden when you're unable to do so for yourself, and they're going to make the community a better place, whether it's by one client at the time or whether going out and spreading time and resources amongst their community to make it better. So. Yeah,
and I'll just say, as a former defense lawyer, I work a lot harder as a plaintiff's lawyer than I ever did when I was on the defense side, but I'm a lot happier because I feel like most personal injury lawyers, we're doing something where we can feel good that we're trying to help somebody who's in need.
That's right. Well, I don't know that this video has been helpful to you, but we appreciate you sticking with us. If you've been with us through the end of this video, if so, give us a thumbs up. If you want to give some encouraging words to us or to other personal injury lawyers, throw it in the comment section below. If you think we're dead wrong and you think everybody's greedy, go ahead and put that in there too. I promise you won't hurt our feelings. We've heard it a million times before. But otherwise, thanks for sticking with us, and we will see you next week.